Can you be at peace in any economic situation? Let's look to St. Paul to learn how.
This week on the Catholic Money Show, we are talking about becoming the good steward. We have a really exciting resource we're going to share with you at the end of this episode. But we really have been hearing from so many people just about how the pinch continues to get worse. It started in January of this year, 2022, and it's kind of just continued to get more difficult for folks as time has gone on.
The pinch just keeps getting tighter.
It does.
Tighter pinch.
And yeah, inflation continues to go up. And a lot of economists are saying this is going to probably get worse before it gets better. And that is leaving people feeling vulnerable, a little bit scared, uncertain about what the future brings. And that can really stir up a lot of anxiety for folks. For millennials like us, it can bring back memories from 2008 when
we go again.
When we graduated. Yeah, and kind of saw all of that. And then if you want to even look farther back into different economic seasons, the Wall Street Journal did an interesting article this last weekend on inflation times and kind of what happened and how the economy got turned around after that and what we can probably expect from this point forward. And I'd say we're in the middle of kind of that transition right now, but rough times are still ahead. And so we're hearing all of this. We're hearing from the news, from different voices speaking into this. We're hearing from you, real people that are trying your best to live this out in your families, and you're feeling the grind. And the same dollar that worked hard for you a year ago now has to go 2 to 3 different directions. And how you're trying to figure out closing that gap and how you're managing the emotions, the fears, the very valid stressors. And with all of that in mind, we've decided to kind of double down into how a good steward. And what I mean by that is, taking on our identity as stewards that God is calling us to be as Catholics, really leaning into that. How can we be at peace in any economic situation we find ourselves in? Because I really do believe that's possible. And maybe you might be thinking, no way. How could that be? But I really want to show you that it's more than possible, and the saints have been doing this for centuries in all sorts of economic situations and needs. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode.
Mm-hmm. And I think the best place to start is by cracking open our Bible.
Yes.
And seeing what it has to say. And I mean, straight up, concrete, practical example that you can find right in those pages.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Philippians 4, verses 10 through 13. And the context here is Paul, the apostle, is writing to the Philippians about their support of him as he's faced lots of challenges and struggles and shipwrecks and all the things. So, John, why don't you go ahead and read it?
I rejoice in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. For you were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I complain of want, for I've learned, in whatever state I am, to be content. I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and want. I can do all things in him who strengthens me.
And I would say, oftentimes we'll hear about Philippians 4:13. I can do all things in him who strengthens me. And it is cherry picked out to apply to literally any struggle or tribulation that we as Christians find ourselves in. And I do think that verse can be applied. You can't always take a verse.
I think it's valid.
You can't always cherry pick a verse and just slap it on any situation. even though many people think you can.
But this one,
this one does.
This one actually
it does
works.
apply. But I really want to, and I think that this is exciting for us. So many scriptures that are meaningful and packed with lessons talk about money. And the context of this verse, this rock star, quoted probably millions of times a day by different people, I can do all things in him who strengthens me, is a verse about Paul's financial situation.
Woo!
Yes. And if we don't understand that context, we can't glean as much out of it during the times that we're in right now. And so many other stories or verses, the context is financial. And if we don't understand money and all of the facets of it, we're going to miss things that God is trying to speak to us in our everyday realities. So I love that. I love that this is buried right here in a financial situation.
I've never realized that. I have heard this verse so many times. I have said this verse so many times. I've remembered it over and over again in all sorts of different situations. But I don't know about money when that's what it is.
He said it from
He's talking
a place
about it, right?
of
He's essentially saying,
Mm-hmm.
I've been broke. I've been rich. I've been feasting. I've been starving. And it's all fine. I know how to do this. I can have a ton and I can have nothing.
I've learned the secret. What's the secret?
What is the secret, Paul?
It's the secret of the Christian life in general, but I can do all things in him who strengthens me.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we unite every circumstance to our Lord and we accept his divine providence as it's coming to us in the present moment, we can do anything. Mm-hmm. And that is where grace lives for us.
And it's not just, if we're looking at this, it's not just, I've learned the secret to facing hunger and want. It's, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and want. Because that same secret, understanding how to be a good steward, allows you to actually have something, experience plenty, and not have it wreck you. Mm-hmm. And it allows you to experience hunger and want without despairing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love this verse, and I want it to be a comfort for everybody listening right now, just to know that the real secret to any economic conditions you might find yourself in, whether you just received a windfall, an inheritance, and it's life-changing, and all of a sudden doors that have never been open to you are open, or you've lost your job and the savings is dwindling and you're not quite sure if you're going to have money 2 weeks from now. Those are probably two extremes, right? But the secret to facing both of those situations is literally the same, and every situation in between. It's inviting Jesus right into the center of whatever his will is for you at that given moment, and giving it to him, asking him to be with you in it, and to help you work through it, and to carry you through, and to have him give you the strength to either steward the mass amount of resources you've just been entrusted with, because you're going to need grace for that, or to have that strength of trusting and hope and not giving in to what our world says as a desperate situation where you should just throw your hands up and have a panic attack.
Mm-hmm. You're looking in that jar of flour and oil, and it's looking pretty empty. And to not have the inclination to, you know what we're going to do today, son? We're going to make these little cakes, and then we're going to fall down and die.
How many stories? Okay.
God enters into that and goes, maybe there's another way. Mm-hmm. Another way to take care of these resources, however plentiful or few they may be. Yeah. And life comes out of it. Yes.
Our God is the God who takes 2 fish and 5 loaves and feeds 5,000 men plus women and children. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's truly never a situation to despair in. And I think sometimes we think, we only need to draw close to Jesus when economic times are looking bad or they're looking slim, but it's just not true. Mm-hmm. You need him when you are in those situations. You notice your need more greatly when it hurts, but you need him in the middle, and you certainly need him if you have faced abundance in finance, just because temptations can abound, and you need the virtues and the humility to be able to handle that gracefully and in a way that honors him. So throughout all of that, all economic times, we need him. And if we can learn how to bring him into the center of our financial situation when we are in plenty and hunger or abundance and want, that is what lends us the peace and the strength and the trust that we need to handle whatever that situation is. So we don't need to look at the stock market. We don't need to look at the newspaper. We don't need to look at our bank account to inform us of if we should have hope, trust, and peace. They don't have any bearing on that. Jesus does. He's the one.
All you got to do is look to the Lord.
Yes, we look to the Lord. Now, let's flip that a little bit, because as Catholics, we talk a lot about grace and nature. You can't just, okay, Lord, I give it to you, and then bury your head in the sand and not do anything practical to help out your situation. You know, what's the phrase, God can't steer a parked car?
Yes.
He needs you to turn the ignition on and to go ahead and put the gas on and actually start driving, or else the wheel's all locked up and he can't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
And so there is a practical element, but I want to start with that first one, because I just don't think that as Catholics we have gotten used to or even learned in many situations how to invite God into our money. Outside of, I tithe, there's very little interaction when it comes to the Lord with our pocketbooks. And so we really wanted to double down and drill in on that of he has to be in the center of your finances, and he wants to be. Now, you don't need to be sitting there in the toothpaste aisle, Lord, which toothpaste should I get? That is not not what I'm talking about here. More of those broad strokes of your finances, but you have to bring him in. And now once you have brought him in, now is the time to get practical as a good steward.
Yeah, it's like when we were missionaries with focus. In order to probably be willing to do any of that kind of work, but also to be able to, right, we need to have, kind of given your all to Jesus and love him and all that. And we receive some practical training on how to lead a Bible study, how to teach somebody to pray. So yes.
How to fundraise our income.
Yes.
Like Paul is talking about in this verse.
How to be good in abundance and want. I was definitely on the want side.
Because you didn't have the practical skills.
Yeah. So when it comes to handling our finances as a good steward, obviously the first step is, like we've been saying, invite the Lord in, hand him over, right? Add him onto your financial accounts. Then you need to know what to do with money. You need to understand what he might be expecting you to do, how to handle money, right? In the parable of the talents, where we hear about these good stewards, the ones who were invited into the joy of their master knew what they were doing with money.
Yes, they didn't bury it in the ground and just cross their fingers and hope their master didn't come scold them. That they were proactive.
They went out, did something with it, managed it well, and because of that, were favored by their master and invited in.
And they happened to double their money in the process. So they gave back to God with increase because they knew what to do. And we talk about that in so many of our podcast episodes. But particularly in this episode, we want to talk about two different things. That when we are in troubling economic times, which we are absolutely in right now, there are really two different strategies that a good steward needs to have in their back pocket to be able to utilize to stay afloat and to stay at peace and simply to just make the numbers work. And by making the numbers work, that's what really does end up giving you the peace. because not only have you leaned on the Lord, but you've also used your practical reason to make sure that you've not over-leveraged, overextended yourself, or signed on to too many things, and now you don't have the means to actually meet those obligations. That's where a lot of stress happens. So we're going to talk about two different things. I think a good steward in any economic times needs to know about how to save money and how to earn money.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about those two things.
And saving, I'd say even with saving, the two different sides of saving money.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly putting money away and
Sure.
saving money.
Having the discipline to set aside money for maybe a rainy day or an emergency.
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
And the virtue, the fortitude to not touch it
Right.
just because you want to. But then also how to be wise in your purchases, how to save money that way.
Yes. I'd say in the last 2 years, Americans on average relearned how to save. The savings rate increased.
And now
in 2022, it's plummeted.
it's lower than it was before the pandemic.
Yes, because people simply, to make up for the inflation, they've been eroding the savings to kind of continue the lifestyle that they'd gotten used to. And at a certain point, that savings is going to run dry. And now it's, am I just putting things on a credit card and not paying them off? And that's not a situation that we're going to recommend to anybody. And that's not good stewardship. That's poor stewardship. And so let's talk about that flip side of not just setting aside money for savings, for emergencies. That's not what we're talking about primarily in this episode. Let's talk about saving money on everyday things that you need to do.
Yes, being wise or cunning in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so important because, God has given you this money. So why would you overspend for things? Why would you waste it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, if you just go like a really practical way, you've got however much money to, buy lunch for your family. And in either situation, you can spend all of it. And you can either get everybody, a sandwich and a drink. Or if you're a little savvier with it, you can get them a sandwich, a drink, a bag of chips, and a cookie.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Because your kids are going to complain that they're hungry in an hour if you only give them a sandwich.
So it allows you to provide in a more thorough or better way for the things that you're being asked to do, or it can allow you to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a good deal on something, you're reducing the price of it. So you're reducing the opportunity costs, right? You're able to do more with the money you have because, I took care of this and I still have some left over.
Yes.
I can go do that other thing that's important now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so the way that we've viewed this over the years is, really early on in our financial journey, if we could save money on, okay, we need a new Camelback water bottle. I could go to REI and spend $29.99, or I could go on Amazon Warehouse and get a like new one that had a box opened but was never used, and I can get it for $13. Well, bada bing, bada boom. Now we can save for that down payment, or we can save for adoption, or we can, earlier in the journey, go ahead and use that money towards debt. As we get farther down the journey, the question has become more of, okay, now this could maybe go towards this or that investment. It could go towards paying off the mortgage. We could actually just give more than 10%. And we're in a position where we could do that if we are savvy, cunning, and just learn how to save money on everyday things. We can now take the difference and put it towards something that means more to our family. Because why are we paying more on a water bottle if I don't need to?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's important to and it's a skill.
It's a skill.
It's a skill to develop, to know how to find those deals, how to know when to be looking for a deal like that, and evaluate what's worth it and what's not.
And I think the skill is also lies in knowing how to find savings and acquire it without overexertion of your time, energy, or other resources.
So not spending 40 hours a week clipping coupons.
Oh okay. I have always
everybody.
hated, now you got me on a rant. I have hated that show, Extreme Couponing. It is the absolute worst. These people are addicted to the hunt. That's what's really fueling this. And hey, you know what? that's fine. If that's just something you want to do as a hobby, I get it. But a lot of these people are in a financial situation where they actually shouldn't be doing this. So when you calculate the hourly rate, they made like $5 an hour. And if they'd taken 40 hours and actually worked a meaningful job with a fair paying wage, they could have just paid full price for groceries and had an extra $2,000 for other things in their life. It's so dumb. So no, that is a perfect example of something
A coupon here and there is nice.
A coupon here and there. Hey, it just was on the countertop. It took me 10 seconds to clip.
Yes.
Cool.
Hours and hours
Hours
spent.
and hours, 40 hours spent diving into dumpsters. And no. I'm not going to tell anybody to do that.
So you got to learn how to do it well. And then the other thing is you need to be wise in how you earn money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, this is a conversation that a lot of people are having lately is maybe they were a single income family, and with inflation happening, they're sitting there thinking, does somebody need to go back to work, or do you need to work overtime? We've gotten into a place where, we're millennials, so we've had, how many recessions? This will be the third recession because there was that initial COVID one.
We had the COVID one, yeah. The housing crisis, the pandemic.
So many recessions at this point that, millennials get hate for, you're always switching jobs up, this or that. But we have learned and seen that just working 40 hours for one company for your whole life, it doesn't pay off anymore. It puts you in a vulnerable position where you have one income and you're disposable. And if you're disposable, most jobs are. And if something happens and you're let go, you have no other income. Mm-hmm. That is too vulnerable of a position to be in. And that's frankly why 80% of people, they're living paycheck to paycheck because they have one income and all their eggs are in one basket and they're at the mercy of their employer. And Jonathan and I think it started by accident.
Yeah.
And then we have we're multi-passionate people. So we've kind of always had these skills or hobbies or things that we've monetized before the whole monetize your entire life thing became a thing. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, you have a skill? Monetize it. That kind of became hyper. And that's never been our game. But we've just had a lot of different income streams that have developed over the last 11 years. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really know how important they were until we became entrepreneurs and the paycheck was all on us and there weren't any employers anymore. And we started to realize we can't just rely on WalletWin. Mm-hmm. We have to have several prongs of income supporting us so that we could weather any situation. And if WalletWin takes a dip or is in a time when it's not selling something, we have other sources of revenue. And now, not all of you listening are entrepreneurs, but I think it's just wise to have multiple sources of income for any family. Kind of like a stool, mm-hmm. right? You're not standing on a pogo stick or a tightrope, with a balance in your arm and you got 9 kids hanging off of you. You need to be on a stool with 3 or 4 legs.
Yeah, and the more legs you have, the more sturdy it is, especially when 1 or 2 of them get knocked out from under you.
Yes, exactly.
Right? If you've got 3, one that gets knocked out, well, you fall over.
Yes.
If you've got 4, well, maybe you can handle it with 3 for a little while.
Sure.
Things like that.
And now I don't want you to say, oh, Jonathan and Amanda are telling me I need to go get 4 jobs. That is not what I'm saying. I just want to challenge people, though, to think that, good stewards. So Paul, let's go back to scripture. In other places, he talks about how at different times he was a tent maker. Mm-hmm. And then other times, the church that he's been preaching at will kind of give him some income or they'll send him some money. Just like the Philippians at this point, they finally had the means to go ahead and support him. But did he just dry up, wither, and starve? No. He knew that when the churches weren't supporting the work that he was doing, he needed a couple skills. And so here he is building some tents, doing some things to go ahead and provide for himself. And so you need to develop maybe not 4 jobs, but a couple different income streams to support your family, to offer you more stability.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever look into anything about investing, everybody always tells you diversify.
Yes.
Don't have, all of your retirement savings in one company's stock or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Diversify. So why not diversify your sources of income?
Absolutely.
So when one might go down, the other might come up to pick up the slack.
Yes.
So you need to have a wise and cunning way of earning your income.
Yes.
You need to invite the Lord in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the first step. Then 2 ways of living out that life of stewardship is in how you are saving money and how you are earning your money.
Absolutely. And that brings us to something we are super excited to offer.
Yes. We've been talking about this a lot. People ask us about it a lot. And it's a heck of a time that we're in right now. So we decided to put together a workshop for you to learn how to be a good steward in hard times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Good Steward Workshop. It's free to get in.
Yep.
You can check it out. It starts later this month,
yep.
and you can grab your spot now at goodstewardworkshop.com.
Yes, and we are going to, in this workshop, everything we talked about today, we talked about kind of at that 30,000 foot view, right? Mm-hmm. This workshop, we are going to take bringing God in, saving, earning, and we are going to do a deep dive into practical application. And we're going to teach you some of our own playbooks of things that we have used over the last several years practically to go ahead and live stewardship in these different areas of our life. And then the last part of the workshop is we're then going to take all of the things that you've learned and talk about how to go ahead and apply it to your life, the rest of your life, because you are called to be the good steward. And we want to show you how to do that practically and spiritually.
Absolutely. So if you were listening to this podcast and thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Okay, Jonathan and Amanda, let's do this. Okay, but wait. How do I do this? This is perfect for you then. Because this is exactly what we're going to be talking about.
Yes.
We're taking that plane down to a much lower level. We're going to get super practical, and you're going to walk out of it knowing what to do.
Yes, absolutely. So it is not an overstatement to say you could walk out of this with ideas that are going to save you hundreds, if not thousands, over the next year, and on the flip side with earning too. We're going to share some really specific side hustles or revenue generating activities we've been able to do that are not, hey, go start a business and tie up 100 hours of your week. Mm-hmm. They're going to be really practical, smart, and implementable, even if you have the tightest of timelines and only a few hours a week. So you could be earning hundreds or thousands more in the next year. We cannot wait to break that down for you. We're actually going to give you a prayer to pray of inviting God right there into your finances and how to trust him with it. And we just can't wait to walk with people through this workshop. We've never created a workshop like this, and I'm jazzed.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show up.
I'm signing up for it. All right.
I can't wait to go through it.
I'm going to do it. I'm signing up.
goodstewardworkshop.com. Later on in August, we're going to kick that off. So go get your seat now, and we'll see you in the workshop. Until next time, bye for now. Thanks for joining us today. You can learn more about this show and the WalletWin program at WalletWin.com.
Music in this episode's from Dylan Gardner. Listen to his new album, Almost Real, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your music. See you next week.